What's up, everybody? This is Dan Thompson from AroundTheAssociation.com, and this is the Around the Association podcast for October 28th, 2018. This is the NBA Power Ranking edition of the podcast. So for those who have read my power rankings online at AroundTheAssociation.com, this is the reasoning behind why I have the teams ranked the way they are throughout the NBA. So for the next 10, 15 or so minutes, we're going to talk about the power rankings I have going down from 1 through 30 in the NBA. And then probably later on tonight, there'll be another podcast based on Tyronn Lue and the firing that happened in Cleveland this afternoon. Follow me on Twitter at Danny, D-A-N-N-Y, the number 3, Thompson on Twitter. Also AroundTheAssociation.com, and also the Facebook page, which is Around the Association Radio. So let's look at the top 30 in the entire NBA. So number 1 and number 2 are kind of interchangeable. The Toronto Raptors and Milwaukee Bucks have been two of the best teams in the NBA so far at the start of the season. And ironically, both those teams play on Monday night inside of Air Canada Center. The Toronto Raptors were a team that we all saw at the beginning of the season that went through a lot of changes. Nick Nurse is the head coach. They traded arguably the greatest player of all time in this franchise's history in DeMar DeRozan to San Antonio. They ended up acquiring a top 5 player, probably the best player they've ever had on a roster at one point in time, and Kawhi Leonard, added Danny Green. And even with the 6-0 start, they've also made some changes. They kind of went smaller in the lineup. Jonas Valanciunas is now coming off the bench now. They're now starting a different lineup that includes Serge Ibaka at the center position. But guess what? What hasn't been different is the fact that the Raptors are one of 3 teams in the NBA that are undefeated right now. The Raptors are 6-0. They're playing the best basketball they've played in a long time. And guess what? As much as Kyle Lowry has shown that it might be a little different the way he's feeling right now, we definitely can understand that. Kyle Lowry is playing some of the best basketball of his entire career right now. In the first 6 games, averaging right under 20 points a game, leads the NBA in assists. He's shooting over 50% from the floor, over 50% from the thrempoint line, and over 80% from the free throw line. On top of that, Valanciunas has been putting up the same production he was as a starter, coming off the bench and doing really well with the second unit. And remember, this team has still had injuries. Fred VanVleet's missed a couple games. OG Anunoby was out for a game or so. And guess what? Nick Nurse has somehow found Norman Powell. So the Raptors have been playing some of the best basketball in the NBA, on top of the fact that they've already beat the Boston Celtics already. They're 6-0. Now, at number 2 is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks last night beat the Orlando Magic 113-91. Really wasn't much of a game. But if you look at the Bucks so far to start the season, they beat in Philadelphia. They're undefeated. And guess what? They have the Raptors tomorrow night. On top of that, Giannis has been Giannis, but if you look at the rest of the team, Chris Middleton has been just phenomenal to start the season. Middleton is in a free agent year, of course, as we all know. But if you look at Chris Middleton's numbers over the first 6 games, Middleton has been right around 21, almost 22 points a game. But the real number is that he's shooting 51% from the floor and 57% from downtown. It's not like he's shooting 2 threes a game. He's shooting 7 threes a game, and he's hitting at a 51% clip. The one thing about Chris Middleton, people didn't realize that Chris Middleton has scored more points, is scoring better in the paint than he ever has. We've all known about the game, his spot-up shooting is his defense, but what he's doing on the offensive end, especially with the accuracy from the shot, has been just phenomenal. An effective shooting percentage of almost 67% from the floor, and don't forget they have 5 guys in double figures. Everybody who starts is in double figures. Ersan Ilyasova is averaging almost 6.5 rebounds a game off the bench. They're getting the same production from John Henson. Dante DiCenzo is, I think he had a career high last night against Orlando, is averaging almost 8 points a game. The Bucks are scoring a lot of points. They're playing some great basketball, and let's be honest, they're just good. Now the Golden State Warriors are at 5-1. They take on they're number 3, and they're taking on the Brooklyn Nets this afternoon, tonight, at Barclays Center. Listen, the only loss that came to the Warriors was to the Denver Nuggets, and Nuggets were undefeated at the time. And at the time, the Nuggets were the only team in the NBA not allowing 100 points in any of the games, and they were held to 98. Outside of that, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant have been scoring at an insane rate. Curry had 51 earlier in the week. Durant had 45, I think it was Friday night, in the Garden. Most of those came in the fourth quarter. Curry had most of his, I think all his in the 3 quarters. Listen, the Golden State Warriors are still the best team in the NBA. You know, I said it in the preseason podcast. They're the best team in the NBA. And remember, DeMarcus Cousins still hasn't played a game yet. And they're still playing this way with Klay Thompson shooting horribly from the floor. Just imagine when Klay gets himself completely all point engaged, and how good the Warriors are going to be after that. The Pelicans are number 4 at 4-0. I know it's kind of weird to have a team undefeated below a team that's got 1 loss. But if you think about it, the Pelicans' major win so far this season was against the Houston Rockets on opening night. No offense to the other three teams they've beaten. They haven't beaten anybody that has on a high quality level. They play again Sunday night. They won again last night. So the Pelicans right now, like I said, they're undefeated, and listen, Anthony Davis didn't have his best game the other night, but it's still Anthony Davis. He's still one of the best players in the entire NBA. Mirotic has been out to a great start. Drew Holiday is picking up right where he left off, but the real surprise has been Elfrid Payton. Now, a guy that I've had, many conversations about Elfrid Payton on many occasions. Payton's off to a great start. Besides Julius Randle's good play, Payton's been the difference maker so far. It seems like he's starting to figure it out. And not to mention Elfrid's case, this is the most talent he's ever played around. He's never played around a top 5 player in the NBA. Drew Holiday is one of the more underrated players in the entire league. Julius Randle's off to a phenomenal start. Like I said, Mirotic is shooting the ball very well. Listen, the Pelicans will they'll have some things they have to work on in the next couple of days. But remember, if Payton continues to play this, and the one thing about Elfrid we've known in the past is that his plus minus has not been good. If his plus minus stays very high, that means he's playing very good basketball. So it is a good start for the Pelicans. They're still undefeated. So I do like the way they've been playing basketball. So the Detroit Pistons last night, they ended up losing last night. I forgot who they lost to last night offhand, but the Pistons they're playing some good basketball. Blake Griffin had a phenomenal night, a phenomenal game a couple nights ago. We, put the NBA's first 50-point game up of the season against, of course, the Philadelphia 76ers. But listen, Detroit under Dwayne Casey is off to a great start. And what's been the big thing for Detroit is besides Griffin, besides Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson's healthy. Remember, I said it earlier in the year. If Reggie Jackson's healthy, Detroit's a playoff team. But because Reggie Jackson hasn't been healthy over the years, they haven't done what they're supposed to. The Pistons are at 4-1, actually. If he hasn't been healthy, the Pistons don't play well. If he's healthy, the Pistons are at a completely different level. I like what they have. And once Reggie Bullock and those guys start knocking down shots consistently, if the Pistons can stay at this format and Blake Griffin keeps playing the way he's playing, because Griffin's an MVP candidate so far in the first week and a half of the season, the Pistons will be in great shape. I got the Denver Nuggets listed at number 6. Listen, the Nuggets lost one game, but at one point the Nuggets were the only team that in the first 4 games of the season didn't allow 100 points. They allowed 100 points the other night to Sacramento. But if you watch the Denver Nuggets, they're playing these games without injured Will Barton. Isaiah Thomas hasn't hit the floor. And Michael Porter Jr. is still, we don't know when he's even coming back. The Nuggets are one of these teams that if they were in the Eastern Conference, they would contend because they're so deep and they're so good. And Nikola Jokic is just a dream to watch. If you have NBA League Pass and you have the ability to watch them on a nightly basis, he's the guy you want to watch. Portland's at number 7 on my list. Listen, Portland was in Orlando on Thursday night, and I was a witness to Damian Lillard's 41 points, including 34 in the second half, and I will now call the infamous heckle game going forward. Lillard is just that good. I mean, Lillard has put himself in that level of, I think he's consideration at the bottom part of the top 10 overall players in the entire league. I mean, he's just that good of a player. Lillard's doing more than just scoring. He's averaging almost close to 5 rebounds, almost 7 assists a game, scoring definitely over 30 points a game. CJ McCollum is still CJ McCollum, but the one guy that people haven't talked about much is Zach Collins. We talk about Nurkic being the big man down low, but Zach Collins is getting better and better. After a year where, he's just learning the post game. Remember, he wasn't a starter at Gonzaga, but Collins is getting much more comfortable. And if you really watch that game against Orlando on Thursday, Mo Bamba reminds me of what Zach Collins was a year ago. A guy that's still learning the game, and that 1 year has made Zach Collins so much of a better player. Boston's at 8 at 4-2. Listen, the Celtics are still just trying to get used to everybody being healthy. Kyrie Irving has not even come close to where he is. Gordon Hayward's still in mid restriction, still finding his way on the floor. But Jason Tatum's been good. Marcus Morris, not Markieff, Marcus Morris has been knocking down shots left and right. Al Horford's Al Horford, and the Celtics are just deep. Aaron Baines has been a revelation off the bench. And Brad Stevens is still one of the best coaches in the NBA. They're 4-2. And remember, they still haven't gotten Kyrie Irving to play his best game of the season yet. And Gordon Hayward, probably won't see Gordon Hayward be Gordon Hayward probably until around Christmas time. Those injuries take a while, especially is getting the confidence and just knowing how good he really is and getting that confidence back on himself. Number 9 is Indiana Pacers. They're at 4-2. Listen, the Pacers are one of those teams that they are just quiet. They don't get much attention. We all know how good Victor Oladipo is, but the one thing the Pacers have been really doing well the first 6 games is that they've been playing defense. They're only allowing 102 points a game. And I know you're saying only allowing 102 points a game. When everybody in the NBA is scoring, seem like 700 points a night, allowing 102 points a game is actually a very, very good number. They're doing a lot of good things defensively. They're top 10 in a lot of the major defensive categories. 3-point percentage allowed, field goal percentage allowed. They're both in the top 8 in the entire NBA. They're allowing themselves to do better. But one thing that the Pacers have been doing besides the defensive end, they're hitting shots. They're second in the NBA in field goal percentage as of this recording. So on top of that, they're also leading the NBA in 3-point percentage. So when you're hitting enough shots and you're playing solid defense, you're going to win. And we haven't even seen the best of Miles Turner yet. Miles Turner is still the difference in the team. If Miles Turner gets himself together and he starts doing what he's doing, he's only averaging 12 points, a little under 6 rebounds a game. He's still averaging 2 blocks a game, but if Miles Turner takes that leap, the Pacers are so dangerous. But one thing about Indiana that you have to realize is that they have 6 guys in double figures, and Corey Joseph and Darren Collison are almost at over 8 points a game. Oh, forget Doug McDermott's at 9. So it's a balanced effort for the Pacers as they're 4-2 start. San Antonio's at number 10, rounding up the top 10. They're at 3-2. They're just ahead of Utah. What makes the Spurs, the fact that they're ahead of Utah only because of the fact that they're still getting better, and they're doing it at a 3-2 start without any type of major point guard play. Remember, they've lost all their point guards. They're just down to Patty Mills is the main guy they have. They're using Brent Forbes. Remember, they're still missing Derek White. They're still missing Murray, who's going to be gone for the entire season. Lonnie Walker's out. So the Spurs being at 3-2 right in front of the Jazz right now, I think that's about the right sweet spot. The only drawback with the Spurs is that they're giving up a lot of points. They're giving up right around 118 points a game, but they're winning games. They beat the Lakers the other night. They beat the Lakers twice, actually. But for a 3-2 start, they beat LeBron twice. So that's, a high start. There's some differences. The Jazz are going to be right behind them. But the one thing with the Spurs so far in the early part of the season, DeMar DeRozan has been phenomenal. 27.5 points a game, 6 rebounds, almost 8 assists a game. So he's taken over that main playmaker role, and he's on a mission to prove to the entire NBA, especially the people in Toronto, that he should have never been traded in the first place. Jazz are at number 11, Clippers at number 12. We still haven't seen the best Jazz game of the season. Even though they beat Houston the other night, only allowed 89 points to the Jazz or to the Rockets. Remember, James Harden got hurt in that game. And up until that game, Donovan Mitchell had been struggling from the floor scoring the basketball. I like the Jazz, just ahead of the Clippers. The Clippers are a team. They're the Clippers. They have a game on Sunday night. Those two are kind of interchangeable. I love the way the Clippers have been using, the rookie Skal, Gilgeous-Alexander. He's been really been, one of the under the radar rookies so far, especially getting fourth quarter minutes for Doc Rivers' squad, especially guarding some of the better guards in the NBA in that second unit. So 14, we have the Philadelphia 76ers at 3-3. They're just ahead of the Miami Heat. The Sixers are ahead of the Heat because the Sixers have played a tougher schedule. Remember, they were in the Detroit game without Ben Simmons. They've also played Milwaukee. They've also played Boston. They have played Charlotte, who's actually been an up and down team. They actually have Charlotte right behind Philadelphia in my power rankings. But they've played some really good teams to start the season. And I would say strength of schedule, but the fact of the quality opponents the Sixers have been playing, that's the reason why they're where they are. And remember, I said they've missed Simmons for a game. Embiid's been really good. And there's so many, and Robert Covington played his best defensive game of the season last night against Charlotte, holding Kemba Walker. I know it says 37 in the scorebook, but it took Kemba Walker 31 shots to get 37 points. Hornets are at 13. The Hornets are at 15, right in front of the Heat. The Heat are 3-2. Miami, they've had their moments. They didn't do well in opening night against Orlando. They blew out the Knicks the other night. And the one thing about the Heat is that the Heat have been missing guys in the rotation. They still haven't got Deion Waiters, who won't be back for a while. Wayne Ellington I don't think even hit the floor yet. Justice Winslow. There's still James Johnson's missed games. They're still missing guys out of the rotation, and they're still getting better. But Rodney McGruder has been one of the most underrated players and probably the most undervalued player in the NBA in the first week and a half. Most folks don't know who Rodney McGruder is. McGruder started, was his rookie season. I think he started about 45, 50 games his rookie season, started 2 games last year. Magruder has come into the starting lineup. He's averaging, I think, over 17 points a game. He's been playing solid defense, been hitting 3-point shots. He's really been a very, very stabilizing force on top of Dragic, on top of Whiteside. And, Bam Adebayo's been up and down, but Magruder's been really one of those, and Josh Richardson. Magruder's been the best player to me that no one has been paying attention to the start of the season. All right, the Memphis Grizzlies are at 3-2. They're just ahead of the Sacramento Kings. Yes, I know Memphis and Sacramento just played the other night. I think they just played last night, I want to say. And I want to say the Kings won again last night. I think the Kings beat them last night. But here's the thing with the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have been in transition, and I always take a team that's, if it's a kind of a tie beats the runner, the Grizzlies right now, at 3-2, they've been playing solid defense. They beat Phoenix last night. But if you look at what they've been doing, their pace is down, but the defensive rating is up. The Grizzlies have been doing this really without finding anything solid on the swing and the wing position so far. Marc Gasol is out with that day-to-day injury. Chandler Parsons has been Chandler Parsons. But if you look at what the Grizzlies have done, Jaren Jackson has now been in the starting lineup. Kyle Anderson is still trying to figure things out. But if you look at guys that have been under the radar, Garrett Temple, a guy that has always gotten buckets over his career, has been doing it 13.5 points a game since he's been, in the 5 starts that he has. What's really been interesting is the fact of Dillon Brooks had such a solid season last year. It's kind of regressed a little bit, but Jaren Jackson has now gotten in the starting lineup, started the last couple games. He's at 13 points. He's averaging a steal and a block a game and almost 6 rebounds a game. I think he's been playing in the absence, of JaMychal Green, who's only playing in the 2 games so far this season. Green still hasn't gotten rotations. Kyle Anderson, like I said, has missed a lot of time. But I like the Grizzlies and what they've been playing with, so far at the start of the season. And the Grizzlies are solid. The Kings who got off to a very, very slow start has actually won the last couple games. Listen, the Kings have Marvin Bagley, and Bagley is going to be a stud in this league. He's been so studly over the last couple games. And with the Kings is that they beat Washington the other night, and they go into Miami. They're on the road for Miami tomorrow. But what the Kings have been doing is that they've been playing at a high pace. They're 4th in the NBA in pace. But the Kings' issue has been giving up points. The Kings are 20th in the NBA giving up points so far in the season. But back to the Bagley point. In their last 2 games, they beat Memphis the other night on the 24th, which I know I say, why is Memphis in front of them? But like I said, Memphis is 3-2. Kings are 3-3. That's the reason why they're in front of them. But for a team at one point that was 1-3, they've won the last 2 games, and they've won it with defense. They gave up 112 points to a Wizards team that still figuring themselves out, and they will be figuring themselves out for a while, but they also gave up only 92 points to Memphis, earlier in the week. What the Kings have been doing is they've somehow got Iman Shumpert and made Iman Shumpert worth value again. Shumpert's been off to a great start so far this season. They inserted him in the starting lineup a couple nights ago. Him and Bjelica have just been lights out. Bjelica, like I said, came over from Minnesota, averaged 13 points and 7 rebounds a game. Shumpert's at 10 points. The rebounds are about 3.5. He's been doing well in assists, but he's been doing very well defensively. On top of the fact of, like I said, Marvin Bagley is every bit ready to be a stud in this league. Bagley is so immensely talented. Kings fans are looking at Doncic out in Dallas and wondering, okay, why did we take him in the draft? But Bagley, when given time, is going to be good. Bagley is playing 24 minutes tonight. Hadn't started a single game, but remember, he's averaging 13 points, 7.5 rebounds. He's second on the team rebounding and coming off the bench. He's got so much talent, so much ability. Him and Fox, Bjelica has been playing really well. Buddy Yield is actually knocking down shots. Buddy Yield's at 17.2 points a game. Fox has been reading the offense. Hey, listen, the Kings might not be doing this later on the season, but enjoy it now. We're down at 17. We're at 18 with Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers lost again last night. They're 2-4. Listen, the Fighting LeBrons are still. They're this high because Brandon Ingram has been suspended. Rondo is back on Monday. I think for the next game, Rondo is back. I think he played last night, but Rondo's coming back. Brandon Ingram is suspended. So with losing guys like Ingram and Rondo from the rotation, yes, Lonzo Ball's been playing well. Yes, Josh Hart's in the starting lineup. We all know how good Kyle Kuzma is, but we still haven't seen the Lakers with a full team since the second game of the season. Remember, they played opening night against Portland. But remember, they didn't finish the game against Houston with a full team. Yes, they played the majority of the game, but remember, there was a 1-point game before those guys got ejected, and we haven't seen this team fully with Brandon Ingram. We haven't really seen it with Rajon Rondo. We haven't seen everything Luke Walton has to offer yet. So I still want to rank them at 18 only because of the fact of the Lakers still haven't gotten everybody in the rotation. Hawks are at 19, Timberwolves at 20, and listen, if Karl-Anthony Towns doesn't get this thing together pretty soon, this ranking is going to be even worse for the Timberwolves. I like the Hawks. Trae Young is getting better and better, but of course, he has those moments. Look at the other, he had the 35 points against Cleveland, but look at him shooting the other night. It's going to be up and down, Hawks fans. Just expect it, but Taurean Prince is really, really good. Brooklyn's at 21. They play, Golden State on Sunday night, in Brooklyn. The Nets, listen, I think the Nets are so talented. Karis LeVert is looking healthier and healthier by the day. He's looking like he's going to be a stud. It's one of those things where the Nets might have, they found lucky they finally struck gold. When Jared Allen's been blocking shots, LeVert scoring, D'Angelo Russell's been D'Angelo Russell. I think he's out for a pretty good start. Nets fans should just enjoy it while they enjoy the season. LeVert is really going to be good going forward. Rockets are at 22 only because they're 1-4. Remember, James Harden's hurt. Chris Paul was suspended. And, they don't have Brandon Knight. They don't have Marquise Chris. They're still hurt. The Rockets are a team that's been without a lot of their players. Remember, they're still missing Trevor Reeves. They're still missing Luke Baramute. They're missing a lot of their defense. And the problem with the Rockets is that they can't defend very well. So if you can't defend very well, on top of the fact of you're missing so much scoring with Harden out, Paul out, we haven't seen Brandon and Marquise Chris. You're missing your two best offensive players, and you're trying to rely offense on Eric Gordon and Carmelo Anthony. You got a little bit of a problem. Orlando's at 23. Orlando's now 2-4 in the season. Listen, Magic fans have this unreal expectation down here in Orlando. Let's be realistic here. The Magic are not as good as what fans in Orlando want them to be. That's not such necessarily a bad thing. There's still a lot of growing pains. There's still a lot of mismatched parts to this roster. Vucevic has been really good. Jonathan Isaac up and down. Gordon's had his moments. Mo Bamba had a very, very good opening night, but he's still, at this point, worried more about shooting on the perimeter than he is being in the inside. And he's still learning how to play NBA defense. Jonathan Simmons has been alright, but Terrence Ross has been so good defensively, and he's been starting to not find his shot again. The Magic right now are just a team right now that's still struggling at the point guard position. DJ Augustine is really not playing to the level I thought he was going to be, but it's DJ Augustine. Jerry Grant has shown flashes at times, but the one thing about Steve Clifford's team is that so far that they've had a lot of defensive lapses and a lot of situations where they're not where they're supposed to be defensively, and it's going to take time. I don't know if this team, like I said, it's one thing about Steve Clifford's team is that they always make the playoffs and they always do better than what they're expected, at least the first year or two Steve Clifford's around. So it's 2-4. It's early, but they've had some good moments. Like I said, the Boston game where they were just completely dominant over the Celtics last Monday was really, really good. But then you have moments like you had Thursday where they just completely stopped and let Damian Lillard do what he wanted to on Thursday, and then you had what happened last night with Milwaukee, and they just couldn't. There was no rotation, there was no ball movement. Dallas is 24. Listen, the Mavericks are getting better. They're getting better. They're getting better. They'll probably be higher on my list, hopefully in the next 2 weeks when we do the next version of this, but. I like the way Luka Doncic is doing. I like that backcourt, him and Dennis Smith. DeAndre Jordan has been really, really good rebounding the basketball. And remember, the Mavericks haven't had a healthy Harrison Barnes yet either. Barnes just got back in the lineup. So, if they're playing 500 ball or close to 500 ball without Harrison Barnes, a healthy Harrison Barnes, if they continue to play the way they're doing, Wesley Matthews has actually been better than I thought he was going to be. If they can get to play decent ball and Harrison Barnes get back to the form he had last year, Dallas is a sleeper in the Western Conference. All right. Before I go, the Washington Wizards are at 25. All right. It's time for Washington to make a change at this point. We have gone through this for a very, very long time. The Brad Beal, John Wall dynamic, I don't know what's going on there. Word got out of the loss to Sacramento. Guys have their own agendas, and we're 5 games into the season. And guys have their own agendas about getting shots, not getting the ball. Otto Porter can't find the rim. The only thing that's been really good so far has been Markieff Morris. Morris saved it. Their one victory this season. Morris saved them from behind the 3-point line. But for Washington to be so talented, that being at a 1-4 start is kind of alarming. Now Washington does not have Dwight Howard, who's still out with an injury to his a lower back injury, we're going to call it on the show, but he's still injured. He has not played. He hasn't been anywhere near Wizards, on the floor for the Wizards at all. The Wizards got to get together. I mean, they're still finding themselves, but if guys have their own problems and own situation in the locker room, this is not going to be pretty going forward. Oklahoma City's at 27, and the reason why, even though they're 0-4, why I have them at 27? Well, Russell Westbrook missed the opening 2 games of the season, and Westbrook is now getting himself back into game shape. It's going to take a little bit. One thing with the Thunder is that it's been 2 problems. They can't hit the 3-point shot, and they can't defend. Hopefully when Andre Roberson gets back, things will change, but they still don't have a shooter. Hey, Kyle Korver, go get him, Oklahoma City. Knicks are at 28 at 1-5. Listen, it could have been better. Kevin Knox is injured. Porzingis is still out, but when Kevin Knox got hurt, it kind of changed things. Noah Vonleh has been a very, very pleasant surprise, and they're starting to play Mitchell Robinson a little bit more. Even though Tim Hardaway's had a great start, and Alonzo Trier has been really, really a quiet, good addition, they're still starting guys like Damian Dobson in the lineup. It's not a good time to be a Knicks fan. Phoenix at 29 at 1-4. They just lost to Memphis last night in Memphis. Listen, the Phoenix Suns are a team that's going to run up and down, but as good as Devin Booker's been, they're still a point guard. DeAndre Ayton will probably win Rookie of the Year because he's going to put big numbers. But until this team finds a point guard, it's not going to work. And Booker is getting better and better as a playmaker, but I just can't see them without a point guard. It's just a really bad struggle. And last but not least, the team who fired their head coach on Sunday is the Cleveland Cavaliers, 0-6. They're 0-6. Their coach is fired. It is what we call a dumpster fire out in Cleveland right now, and I had them in the playoffs. I will be the first one to admit to it. I thought this was going to be completely different. I didn't think this would go this bad and this quickly. Kevin Love's injured. The front office wants guys to play, the younger guys to play, and Tyronn Lue wanted to play the veterans. Well, we know who won that battle. Tyron's gone. He had $15 million left on his contract. I wonder how much he got to be gone. Larry Drew's now in charge for the next few weeks. I'll explain all that in a separate podcast later. But the Cavs have struggled. The Cavs have been beat up pretty badly, and I don't know if this is going to get better. This might get worse before it gets better. So, let me know your thoughts. These are my extended thoughts on my power rankings. Follow me on Twitter at NBA, at Danny Thompson, #3, and Twitter, RoundAssociation.com, as well as the Facebook page. So, my power rankings will not be out every week. I would do them every other week. That way we have a little bit more of a sample size instead of doing things every single week. But I want to know your opinions. Let me know how you feel. Comment on the article or comment on this podcast below. Follow the show, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace.